Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of the Pickleball Jones. My name is Brad, and I am joined by Doc, and we're here to talk about all things pickleball. Honestly, our only goals for this podcast is to talk about what we normally discuss, which is pickleball, and then just a bunch of other random things, because we are learned men. Am I right, Doc?
Very educated. Yes, we are.
All right, well, to get started, I would say recently, as of today, actually, we had a celebrity sighting. Doc, you want to tell us who it was?
Well, I'll let you give the big news, but it was unbelievable.
Well, the person we saw on the pickleball courts today was none other than Mr. Ted Lasso himself, Jason Sudeikis, here in Michigan City, Indiana, which isn't where you would normally find celebrities. But hey, he was here on the pickleball court.
Yeah, we were trying to hit him up for a game or two, but he's shooting hoops with his niece and nephew, and it was pretty neat.
Yeah, but we're very sophisticated people. We know that when to approach people and when not to approach people. So we played it very cool.
Yes. Let him have his family time.
Cool. All right. Well, anyway, let's get into it. Talk a little bit around the MLP. This now took place like forever ago, but we'll go through it anyway. In the Challenger League, the Dallas Pickleball Club defeated the Chicago Slice. This was their first appearance for the Chicago Slice, and we watched them way back in Mesa. And my favorite fact about the Chicago Slice is that one of the guys from Entourage is part owner of the team. Mr. Johnny Drama, and that is my one piece of Challenger League information that I know. Doc, what was your favorite part of the Challenger League this week?
This week, well, I'm going back to Mesa, and I'm going to say watching Megan Dizon hungover trying to play singles in the MLP. But it was amazing. She pushed through it, didn't win a point, and she looked hungover, but...
Starting there. Well, that was the Premier League, not the Challenger League, but we'll take that anyway.
Well, that was my highlight. You asked for a highlight.
You did great.
That's all I had.
Well, in the Premier League, the Seattle Pioneers defeated the New Jersey Fives in a match that went all the way to the Dream Breaker. I have a lot of thoughts about this, but this was the one that you and I watched probably the most. If you remember correctly, it was the one where Hayden, the man-child, who we're not entirely sure. I know he's 17, but he looks like a little boy. He was talking a lot of shit to Megan Dizon and the rest of the Pioneers. How do you feel, I guess, just in general, about people talking shit in pickleball?
I'm not a big proponent of it. I guess it drives the sport. People like the drama associated with it. And I think enthusiasm is good, and I'm all for that, passion about the sport. I don't like trash talking. Being a high school official, basketball, softball, you see it carry down into high school athletics and trash talking. So I'm not a big proponent of trash talking your opponent. I know it's part of pro sports, but I guess it's part of the deal. Fans love it.
Yeah.
So I think, especially in the MLP, it's going to be here to stay. And I think fans will grab onto it. And especially when you have entertaining matchups, when you got the man-child or child-man, whatever the hell he is. He looks 10. And he's going against going against Ben Johns or something. It's going to be interesting. And then, of course, in Mesa, then, we had, what was the guy's name we didn't care for?
Rafa.
Yeah.
Rafa Hewitt.
Yeah, well, he was a dick. But I don't know. At least that's what I thought.
Yep.
Just coming over the net and taunting your opponent.
He wasn't even on the court at the time. I think, if I remember right, Anna Bright was playing, and he literally came onto the court to talk smack to the other team.
Yeah, chest pumping and all that. Yeah, I don't know. Grow up.
I, on the other hand, do appreciate it. As an old fan of WWF wrestling back in the day, I'm a big fan of all smack talk. And when Hayden was talking crap to Megan Dizon and Tyler Leung, it just got heated. They ended up losing that one. Hayden and Anna Lee Waters won in a pretty close game. And what did Megan Dizon do after that game there, Doc?
Well, she did the infamous throw your paddle. Something we have a good friend who, about every week or two, flings his paddle against the fence, breaks his $250 paddle, and then gets a new paddle.
Yeah, he's been playing pickleball for less than a year now. Actually, it's almost been 1 year, and he has broken almost 12 paddles. So
yeah, it's and he's kind of an easygoing guy. But it was classic when Omeg threw her paddle in disgust when they choked it. What were they up, 18-15 or 18-8 or whatever they were up, and then they choked it. But again, maybe she was hungover. I don't know. I'm not saying. But yeah, then she threw her paddle into it. Was classic.
All right, so another thing from when the New Jersey Fives played the Seattle Pioneers was it went to a Dream Breaker, and Ben Johns was in charge of doing the matchups. And one of the matchups that he put together was Anna Lee Waters versus Tyler Leung. We thought it went really bad for Anna Lee Waters, but on a second rewatch, it wasn't as bad as we remember. And then we even went back and watched Anna Lee versus Tyson McMuffin. And she fared really well against him. So I guess that brings me to my next question, which is women versus men in pickleball. Is this the one sport where women can compete?
Well, that's what we thought. Tyler won the first go around 4-0, and then she came back and got him 3-1, and then against McGuffin way back, was that in Mesa or wherever that was?
That was Mesa.
Yeah, 2-2 I think it was, or she won that 3-1. But again, you're talking about the best female player in the world, and I think you get past 1, 2, or 3, and it's going to drop significantly. I don't think that they're going to compete against the top 25 men. That's my opinion. But Anna Lee certainly appears that she could hold her own against all the top male competition.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I guess to kind of round this off from the MLP results for the San Clemente finals, the other big notable piece was just Ben Johns. Ben Johns did not lose a single game going into the Super Finals that whole weekend. And in fact, across the 3 MLP events this year, he's only lost 1 game. Again, this is before the Super Finals, which we'll get into in a minute. And my biggest takeaway from that is he wins when he has the best people. So when his partner is Anna Lee Waters or his partner is his brother, he wins, and we know that he wins. But in this situation, they got drafted, and he kind of won even with this team around him. So Etta Wright being his mixed doubles partner in this, and then Tyler, of course, being his men's doubles partner. So, I mean, once again, what does this tell us, Doc? Is Ben Johns just the greatest?
He is the greatest until someone beats him consistently. He is the greatest, and he can make everyone around him better too. So yeah, you want to be Ben Johns' partner. That's the key.
Yeah. Speaking of making everyone better, Ben Johns is also adding to our game. We've been using or subscribed to Pickleball 360 recently. Pickleball360.com. That's a free plug. Thank you. You're welcome, Ben Johns, for the 10 people who are going to see this.
Yeah.
But that is the one thing I think is very cool about Ben Johns in general, is that he is not only the best player in the world, but he is also a really, really good teacher. And I feel like if you go across different sports where people have tried to become coaches, or even just how they've interacted with their teammates and things, it's never an easy experience for great players to be able to coach on how they do things. And that's what I think really sets Ben Johns apart.
Right, and we talked about it. We're certainly no great shakes when it comes to pickleball ranking. And so he can communicate. Those videos were right on point, whether you were a 3-0 or a 5-0. It didn't matter. He had very good tips. and some of the videos were specifically geared towards your skill level. So yeah, he's a great teacher, great player. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and the other notable thing about MLP San Clemente in general was the ATX pickleballers. They have JW as their kind of main guy there, and this was the first time where they really performed well. And as we've been seeing, you really need to kind of pick it up for these teams, and I'll get into it, why it's like a big deal in the future here, especially with the second season draft upcoming. But it was just a good performance by JW. Of course, they did end up losing to the Jersey Fives with Anna Lee Hayden, who we now love, and the rest of the crew there. But that was San Clemente. You want to talk a little bit about the Super Finals?
Yeah, we can get into that. And just as an aside, JW, I don't know if he has videos out there, but another podcast that we watch, they mentioned he doesn't like to talk to people. So that'd probably be a detriment as far as producing teaching videos for JW. But anyway, the Super Finals, yeah, it was different. It was different. Something was amiss. We watched it, and with Ben Johns and what they've come up with, multiple, whether it was fatigue and they had to play the day before, or whether the stage was too big. What was it, $60,000 a person? But something was just not right. Whether it was team chemistry in that finals, but Ben Johns did not seem himself. I mean, he was getting, in the firefights, he was getting it handed to him, and so something was amiss. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, so I guess as a quick update on that, so the Seattle Pioneers faced the LA Mad Drops. LA Mad Drops had some great players. They have Julian Arnold, Parento, our favorite Russian lady.
Terashenko.
Yes.
She's not Russian.
What is their background?
Slovakia.
My bad. And who is their other men's partner now? Now I'm forgetting. We'll have to figure this out later.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Why are we forgetting this right now? It was I don't know. Anyway, we're going to have to edit this part. Hold on 1 second. Let me figure this one out. I can't remember that guy's name. It was that one. I don't remember. I should have paused it at this point. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Terashenko.
Oh, shit. I keep going over here. Thomas Wilson. That's why, because we just don't know him.
Yeah.
6.67. All right. So anyway, we're going to redo that right now. 1, 2, 3, go. All right. So in the MLP Super Finals, the LA Mad Drop took on the Seattle Pioneers and just whooped their asses. The score was 3-0. No one looked like they were playing well, and we'll get into that in a minute. But the LA Mad Drops, again, led by Catherine Parento, Terashenko, Julian Arnold, and Thomas Wilson, just laid the absolute smackdown on them. And this was the Super Finals that came off the cusp. So the Sunday was the MLP Finals for San Clemente. The Seattle Pioneers were in it. Next day, they had to be in the Super Finals against the LA Mad Drops. And this was for $60,000. But again, we're just talking about how great Ben Johns was. He performed well, but man, did that team just fall apart. And even Ben Johns himself looked a little catatonic there for a moment. But I'll kick it over to you, Doc. Like, what were your overall impressions of the MLP Super Finals?
Right. Ben Johns did not look himself. And whether it was fatigue, again, or his partners not stepping up on the big stage, the financial incentives were too big for the moment for some of the players. But something was not right. Now, Parento was on fire. She was really playing well right across from Johns and in the mixed portion, and she was really playing well. And then you get a streaky player like
Julian Arnold.
Yeah, Julian, and he was trash talking, and he was on a roll, and they just took it from there, and they just steamrolled them, and so it was unexpected, and then you had, quite frankly, the women just Anna.
Yeah, Etta Wright and
Wright,
Meg got beaten down.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but we have seen this before from Megan Dizon and Etta Wright. When we were in Mesa, we watched them perform, and we just watched Megan Dizon not perform all that well. And maybe it is just part of it. I would say, I don't know.
Yeah, hey, once pickleball, the MLP gets big time and gets into the Las Vegas betting, we know who to put the money on now and who not to put the money on. They couldn't handle the moment, and so you got to watch that. Once those betting lines start coming out, we'll give you some tips.
Yeah, we'll be all over that. Don't you worry. There's one thing we know: it's gambling.
Yeah. Gambling, yes.
We're surrounded by a lot of degenerates. Okay, well, with this, we did think a little bit and had a little bit of a discussion around just famous choke jobs in history. So on the cusp of the Seattle Pioneers literally just getting blitzed in the last game of the Super Finals, I wanted to bring it back to you. You're a sports historian. Who are some of the biggest chokers in history?
Well, you have to go, things that you saw during your lifetime. At least that's... and probably the biggest one I saw was Greg Norman at the Masters. And some of the, it seems like in golf, because of individual sport, I think you remember those, and there's no other teammates around. And so I'd say Greg Norman, whatever that was, 88, no, that was, it could have been 88, 90 Masters. When he choked, he had a 6-stroke lead and ended up losing to Faldo by 6 strokes, something crazy like that. So,
some other notable ones from history that I just looked up is Napoleon's invasion of Russia. Napoleon really shouldn't have been there. Really, just France in general in war is just not good. They just
not during our
chokers.
lifetime, but significant. Yeah, significant, but not in our lifetime.
Let's not forget when America kicked England's ass in both wars.
Yes.
Revolutionary and War of 1812. I would say the only one, or the one that I remember the most, is the Magic player. This was in the NBA Finals. The first NBA Finals I remember watching in 1995. My dad made a bet that Akeem the Dream Olajuwon, this is the first time I ever made a bet too, would beat Shaq, and I was a huge Shaq and Penny Hardaway fan in the finals. And in that game one, all he had to do was hit one free throw. And the best free throw shooter on the Orlando Magic choked away 4 of them. And the Orlando Magic just never recovered, and I lost $5 to my father, and that was the first loss of many I had in my life.
Yes, as our prep for this podcast, we watched that, and I didn't remember it, but watching it was painful to watch in replay. Oh my God, he missed 2 free throws, then got the rebound, got fouled, and then missed 2 more. Yeah, it was astonishing.
It's similar to pickleball. Like I would say that once the wheels start to fall off, it really starts to go downhill. If you don't have that mental capacity to kind of kick things up into gear and whatnot, you can just fall apart quickly. And that's why I think some of the best players, for instance, in that recent match with Leia versus Anna Leigh Waters, where Anna Leigh wasn't playing her best pickleball and Leia was kind of taking it to her, Anna Leigh somehow prevailed, and the one choker, Leia, who also might have choked a little bit at the end there, kind of fell through. And so just the pros to be able to continue to make it through those tough moments is always impressive.
Yeah, well, they don't subscribe to my philosophy. When I play, if the opposing team gets to 8 before my team, I just quit. So that's
true.
True. I can't choke. I just quit. So
also,
I am a quitter.
Let's not forget,
choker.
Every time that I miss an overhead smash, you drop your paddle in disgust and threaten to leave the court.
Well, you're like 7 feet tall. It seems like that would be an easy shot in pickleball, but apparently you've not been able to master the overhead smash when they hit it right to you, called shake and bake, and you choke the bake.
Yeah, I'll watch the Pickleball 360 on it. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, in other ones, we have Riley Newman has picked a new pickleball partner, dropping Matt Wright's ass, which I feel bad about because they played really well. You know, in the PPA this year, they've medaled in every single PPA. And, I mean, you and I were kind of getting bored of seeing the Johns brothers take on Matt Wright and Riley Newman, but you know, it was still good pickleball, and I thought they played well. But his two new partners are Julian Arnold for half the year and then A.J. Kohler for half the year. Doc, do you have any thoughts about Riley Newman and his new partners?
Oh, my God. Riley Newman, again, not one of my trash talker and not one of my favorite. But, again, he's a little more on the passionate side and not as much taunting and in your face. He's just he's a passionate guy when he plays. And you put him with Julian Arnold, oh, my God, this is going to be like gasoline on a fire. And we'll see with the chemistry how it works on the court. I think if they have any chemistry, they're going to give the Johns brothers a run for their money. On the other hand, you know, gasoline can explode, and it could be a big implosion. So,
all right.
And A.J. Kohler, he's a kind of a stoic type player.
He hits the lob shot. That's what I like about him. I like somebody who
in the
shoots.
pros?
Yeah, who shoots. Hits.
Come on.
Hits up lobs. That's nice.
That's,
we know that's lazy, but in the pros, I do like it.
That's weak sauce. That's what you do to 7-year-olds. you know, come on. The pros lob? No.
All right, fair enough. In other news, next week is going to be the MLP Draft, and we will have our full coverage as if anyone gives a shit about what we have to say.
Well, once you get past, it's similar in a lot of sports. Once you get past the top 5 or 6, you might as well flip a coin. It's all, you know, just glorified 5.0s. Once you get past, probably more 10, the top 10, then you're just into the glorified 5.0s, call themselves professionals. They make, $400 or $500 a year in pickleball, and, good for them.
So why this draft is important is because at the end of the year, the top 12 performing teams are going to enter the Premier League. So there are 24 teams total. The top 12 that come out of this year, so in the 2 seasons here, are going to move on to the Premier League. And the others will be in the Challenger League, and that'll take place for the entire year. And then in the new season, we're going to have relegation. And so now we're going to do a redraft again, occurring next week. But before we get into a little bit about the draft, I would like to say, you and I are both really big fans of relegation. We think that in all sports, just like in life, if you're not good enough, your ass should be cut. And we would, I don't know, what do you got there?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think they should go for it in Division I football. Unfortunately, I'm an alumnus of Indiana University, and I think our football program should be relegated to D3 or some such thing.
School.
High school possibly might beat somebody. More losses in Division I football than anybody in the history of college football. So I think we should be relegated. So no, I'm a big fan of relegation. I think it would spice things up.
So the old CEO of GE, the company, was Jack Welch. And
right.
Each year, I think he cut 10% of his employees, and he just thought this was a good practice to have. And I agree. I think in all of sports, it should be the same thing. If you're one of the bottom 10 teams, your ass should get relegated, and we should bring something new in.
Oakland Athletics, look out, except for they're on a hot streak as we're making this video. But, I'm all for it.
There we go. All right, so a little bit about the MLP Draft. Doc, you have the first pick of the MLP Draft. Who are you taking?
Oh, duh.
Fair enough.
Ben Johns.
All right. And actually, last year, this was my one thing. Do you think Ben Johns went number 1 overall in the Season 1 draft?
I did not look up the draft order, and now he won't let me look off camera to see the draft order. So I'm going to say he went. If he didn't go number one,
Who did?
that's like Michael Jordan going number 3 in 1983. Yeah,
84.
84. Yeah, yeah, it was 84.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be equivalent of Michael Jordan going.
Well, he wasn't. So who do
Okay,
you think
so
went
that's
number
equivalent
one?
of Michael Jordan going third. Well, I would say his female counterpart, Anna Lee, had to go number one. If not, there's something amiss.
Yeah. So she did, but I would have to say agree with you because again, Ben Johns only lost one game.
Yeah,
Before
they can
the
carry
Super
the whole
Finals.
team.
Yeah, he can just do it, and
Singles, mixed doubles, yeah.
he can train the other people on how to beat teams too. And so I think that's a big thing. All right. So again, who do you think would go number two then? You taking Anna Lee Waters? You going with a guy?
I got to go with Anna Lee. She gave me a free shoestrings when we were at the PPA in Desert Ridge in Arizona. I got a free pair of shoestrings from Anna Lee, so I'm going to take Anna Lee second.
If this podcast ever becomes a thing, we just want you guys to know that we can be bought as easy as
we'll wear anything.
shoestrings.
Yeah, we'll wear
If you got
anything.
shoestrings, we will befriend you. It's no big deal. If Anna Lee throws you some shoestrings, you're going to wear them and you're going to talk about her in a positive manner.
Absolutely, and yeah, and no contract's too small for us either. So right now you'll see we were USA. I'm not getting sponsored by USA.
This is Frosty Boy. It is a
Frosty
ice
Boy.
cream place here in Michigan
Michigan
City.
City.
Go ahead and let them know that Brad sent you, and they'll won't know who the hell I am. So
So, but you can get a mixed cone for maybe $1.50.
yeah,
so
and
it's a
see
good
some
deal.
people without teeth, which is cool.
Or Ted Lasso.
Yeah, that's right. You never know. All right, so I guess like your number two pick would be Anna Lee. Other people I think that will be high up on there are going to be JW.
Yes.
Catherine, I think is going to be a big one. Riley Newman,
Yeah, she's
obviously.
playing well. Sure. Yep.
Anybody else that you think should be high up on there?
No. The one thing that we, in our research, realized that Colin Johns probably won't go as high because of his, he's stuck on the right side. He's so used to playing the right side, and apparently doesn't play singles much. I think I knew that, but in our research, so I don't think he'll go as high as you might suspect. You got to figure his brother's what's carrying him along, although he's a good player.
Now, last year, or last draft, Ben Johns had the chance to pick his brother in the fourth round and instead chose Tyler Leung. Do you think he will make that same choice in this MLP?
No.
I think he's going to do it.
If his brother's available, he's taking his brother. Take it to the bank.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. I would say that one big winner that came out of MLP this year was Hayden Patriquin. We were talking shit about him, shit-talking earlier, but the kid really performed well. When we watched him in Mesa, he actually looked like a scared child out there,
Yes.
and the moment seemed way too big for him. But in the past two MLP events now, he has crushed it, and he looks like he belongs just as much as anybody else out there.
Right, we saw him in Mesa. I didn't know who the hell he was. We thought, and he looked like he was in junior high school. He really did. It was unbelievable. And then when we watched that San Clemente thing, and that he is dynamite. That kid's good, and he rubbed me the wrong way. Not that it matters, with his little cocky attitude, but somehow he's growing on me.
There you go.
He could be my new favorite. So look out, Ben Johns.
Yeah, especially just if Hayden gives you any free shoelaces, then he'll be bumped up to
anything.
number one.
Give me anything. I'll take it. I'll rep it. I'll wear it.
Some other people that have been talked about in terms of moving up. One is the Tweener King himself, who's Jack's favorite player, as coming up from the Challenger League. He performed really well on the Bay Area Breakers, so he could potentially come up, which means that somebody has to go down. One potential person that I don't think will go down because he'll probably get drafted pretty high, but in my mind I want to see him perform better than what he did in the Premier League this round, and it's Zane. So how do you feel about Zane?
Not a big fan. Don't really follow him that closely. So whether he gets relegated, I won't lose any sleep.
Fair enough. Well, the one thing about Zane that came up, and this is like a talking point I've had with my father before, which is just this idea that Zane was really good because of his serve. And once they outlawed the chainsaw serve or the Zane Navratil serve, they kind of cut out his big thing that he was good at, which brings me to another quiz question for you. What other rules were named after a player in that particular sport, and kind of like put the kibosh on him some?
Well, it's not a named rule, but one that still haunts me to this day. We mentioned Indiana football. Indiana had Michigan beat in 1988 or some such thing, right around there. 20 seconds to go. They tackle the guy inbounds, but before he falls down, he throws the ball like he's fumbling about 15 yards down the field out of bounds for a first down. And they got the ball, obviously, first down and scored with about 10 seconds to go, which led to the rule where you cannot advance on a fumble the ball past where you are, in which case it would have been Indiana's ball. It was fourth down. So anyway, that still, to this day, haunts me. So anyway, that's the rule I saw live, and so I don't believe it has a name to it, but there are some others with names.
Yeah, the one of the most famous one is Lou Alcindor was coming into the NCAA, and they wanted to prevent him from being so good, so they made dunking illegal in the NCAA.
That was during my
basketball.
lifetime, in my sweet spot, yeah.
Another one is the hack-a-shack, which kind of says that you can no longer strategically foul certain players, so that way they immediately go to the line. They actually have to have the ball, because before players would just go and just basically hack Shaq, so that way he would go to the line and not another player. And that's just basketball. I was going to say, like, real quick, your knowledge of rules named after players, or I guess shots named after players in pickleball. We talked about the Zane Navratil serve. What else you got?
We've got the Ernie.
Yep.
I don't know the gentleman. Haven't met him.
Ernie Perry.
Ernie Perry. So
he's a great guy.
Great guy. Yeah. I think that would be cool to have such a neat shot that a shot's named after you.
Yeah.
Especially in pickleball, a relatively new sport, but there's only so many things you can do, so it's going to be hard to come up with another. Maybe if your initials are ATP, you could claim that as yours. But other than that, what else do you have in pickleball? You got the Ernie, the ATP?
Yeah. I think Barr or somebody had a shot where she hit it like this around her head. And anyway, I don't know if that's actually named after her, but I thought that was very cool. The other one is the one that I would want the most, which is called the Nasty Nelson. And that is where you serve and you intentionally hit the other person who's just standing there. And that would be your point. And so this was a guy.
That's called the Nasty Nelson?
Yeah, Timothy Nelson. Used to be, and I listened to Ben Johns actually on a podcast. He was on the Zane Navratil podcast, Go Figure. And he was talking about some of the greats that before Ben Johns, and Ben Johns said people he looked up to, or like one of the people that he thought was really great was Timothy Nelson, and then talked a little bit about this shot. I have to say that one time I have been Nasty Nelson in a game, and I was playing at a rec game, of course, and they took the point, and I was just like, and she just mishit the shot, and it hit me because I wasn't paying attention, and they took that point, and I was a little salty about it, and I'm still a little pissy.
In recreational, it's a whole ordeal that you try and stand close to the center line to see if they can try and hit you, and then you duck, and then they'll try and hit you. So this is all this cat and mouse with the I didn't know it was the Nasty Nelson, but so yeah, recreational. It's kind of, but that's part of the game in recreational. Body shots is more important than the score.
Fair enough. Some other rules are the Brodeur rule about Martin Brodeur. He was a hockey player, goalie. Played for
But I didn't know he had a pickleball shot.
He didn't have a pickleball shot. He had a hockey one.
I thought we were on pickleball.
I'm just letting you know other shots in the world, basically, or in the sports world. And then there's a bunch of Gretzky rules, which make a lot of sense because Gretzky was just so good that you got to create something to kind of stop that.
Yeah, if you ever go to Unbreakable Records in pro sports, Wayne Gretzky, go to his, and yeah, they will never be touched.
This was another conversation that Doc and I had, just trying to think of what are the greatest, most unbreakable records that anyone has in any sport, and there's a lot of them, but nobody beats Wayne Gretzky. For your information, he had, so a point in hockey is if you have either a goal or an assist. He has enough goals to be number one on the points, or number two, I'm sorry, on the points, only followed by his points and assist record up there as well. So literally he is the greatest GOAT of all time, and that's in any sport. Yeah.
Certainly won't be touched in my lifetime, and I suspect that might be one that's, you hate to say never, but I'd be surprised if that's ever broken.
Plus a bunch of other baseball ones that just can't exist anymore because they don't pitch.
Pitching, Bob Gibson, 30 complete games or something, and I don't know if that's a record, but back then, and that's never going to be touched.
Yeah, and then another one is just stolen bases because no one steals bases anymore. Who was the guy that stole all the bases?
Ricky Henderson.
Ricky Henderson. Yeah. Dad loves that guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, that won't happen anymore.
I refereed, a side note, I refereed with a gentleman who played on the Oakland A's.
Okay.
With a teammate of Ricky Henderson. And he told us Henderson was on first, and he got a pitch, and he swung at the pitch, and Ricky Henderson then in the dugout just ripped him a new one for swinging at the pitch. The first pitch, because of course he wanted to steal the base, and so anyway, it was pretty cool.
I like it. Honestly, that's basically it. I wanted to use this last little bit to just talk about our own pickleball shenanigans these days, and what's grinding your gears there, Doc, on the pickleball courts these days.
A lot of things set me off in recreational pickleball, and I hate fake etiquette. Which, again, you can tell I'm a poor sport, but fake etiquette's getting at me. But
what do you mean by fake etiquette exactly?
Okay, whoever started this garbage, where after a game you have to go and touch paddles at the center court. I don't get it. I always bring this up to you. 70 years old now, but I played basketball for 60 of those years, and you play pickup basketball, and nobody's out there after a game doing a line, shaking hands, and mostly you're trash talking after a game or something. And this fake etiquette, I don't know, maybe it's me, just grumpy old man. This thing where balls come on your court. You ever play basketball and a ball came on your court, you just kick it off your court and you keep playing. God, a ball comes on your court, now you would think, do you
yell ball or pickle? Because I yell pickle.
I don't yell shit. I hit the ball off the court and we keep playing. It doesn't seem, I don't know, the relative risk of someone being injured. It can happen, sure. I think the risk of me being injured has nothing to do with the ball being on the court. But so things like that just kind of set me off in pickleball. And I think it's this kind of fake, but again, that's mostly probably me. I play only usually with people I know because otherwise they can't tolerate my boorish behavior. And so that's kind of what's getting my goat right now.
Yeah. It was recently your 70th birthday, and one of our pickleball partners actually sent you a video just describing their favorite moment with you, and it was his first time of you on the pickleball court. Do you want me to tell the story, or should you?
I think you should tell it. Are you going to tell it?
No, I will tell it in the kind way. So we were playing a game.
Yeah, because this is really over the top. You shouldn't do this, but I did it.
We were playing a game, and I'm imagining that you must have lost.
It's hard to imagine, but I did lose.
And so we get to the court, and in the middle of the court, and Ben tries to come over to you because you're obviously not going to go to the middle of the court to tap paddles, as we just discussed. So he actually goes around the net, comes up to you and goes, "Good game, Doc." And then you tell him to go F himself.
Well, no, I spit on the ground first.
And you spit on the ground, yes, of course. Yeah. Your famous move where you just spit on courts. Even when we're playing with just random people and you spit on the court and some old lady looks at you like you.
Yeah. Some of it's for effect. I just love to get these people just... and you would think for a father of 3 children, I'd have behavior my children would want to emulate, or being a high school official, I would be a little more sportsmanship-oriented, but somehow you get me on the pickleball court, and God forbid you throw my brother out there, and then all bets are off. It's every word in the book, and but the thing is, once it's over, everybody thinks I'm mad, and then once it's over, I leave, and I think it's hysterical. And my wife does not. I will tell you that. She flung my pickleball bag over the Brad's been there, flung it over the fence, and so anyway.
That's your life.
Yeah, that's my life. But along those lines, I got one little
go ahead.
tidbit.
What do you got?
My co-host here was so gracious for my 70th birthday to give me a brand new Ben Johns paddle.
The Perseus.
The Perseus. Now, I bring this up. I saw a little video that there's some controversy with the Hyperion. You have both.
Yep.
So I don't know what your experience. I love this, maybe because it was free, but I really love this paddle that Brad got me. But there's some, I saw a video that somehow Ben Johns is not happy with the new Perseus.
Oh.
And he was at the San Clemente in the PPA playing with it. And is that where he got beat in the singles?
Yep.
And he got beat in the singles. And then when he was at...
He lost to the med student.
Smart guy. I'd stay in med school, though, for right now.
His team, he goes to North Carolina med school, and they actually played the collegiate pickleball on ESPN. And... North Carolina won, so go medical students, go North Carolina, I guess. Except you're not a big. It shows you how. Fan.
No, I'm not a big North Carolina fan. Not a big. Well, that'd be for another podcast. All the teams I hate, but anyway, I would until the money gets bigger, stay in med school. That's my advice.
Going back, sorry. So that's
that's
who Ben Johns
that's who we lost to. And he was not happy with his new paddle, the Perseus. And then I didn't pay attention, but someone said at the MLP he had all the graphics off the paddle and did not have Perseus, whether he went back to his old paddle or what he had on it, but it didn't have the graphics of the Perseus. Now, so I guess that we'll see how that all plays out for old man like myself to get a free paddle from a good friend. I don't care. Ben Johns, yeah, I guess he does care.
Our guy, Maurice the Grease on Twitter, who is one of our new favorite people on Twitter, he basically said that I would play with any paddle that was given to me for free. And he goes, "This one is great." And he explained why it was so good. And then he goes, "And it's better than this one, and it's better than, like getting lit on fire, which is better than the Perseus paddle." And he put the Perseus paddle behind getting lit on fire. So he is not a big fan of Eula or Jula or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever their name is.
But we do use them, but we also like Maurice the Grease. So I don't know. I'm split here because he's our new favorite guy.
He is. He is a funny guy. If you think you're funny, well, get in line because at least his tweets are hysterical.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give him a shout out and go look at his tweets.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll have to see what ends up happening with the Perseus. The one thing I will say is prior to the Perseus paddle actually coming out, he, as well as Leia, I forget who exactly had it, but they had one that was that didn't have any writing on it. And it did look like he was going back to that recently,
Yes.
like you were saying. So maybe it is just like, I don't know if that's like a different one or if he's just trying not to advertise the new Perseus paddle, but I did notice that. But in my mind, when I saw that, I was like, oh, like he's just kind of going back to the old one, and maybe that one's special, kind of like you and I have talked about before. Being here in Michigan City, Indiana, we are very, very close to the Paddle Tech headquarters, and everyone around here has a Paddle Tech paddle. And I would have to say that the Paddle Tech paddle is, while it's made in America, and we love America, you got USA, you're repping USA here, I'm repping Frosty Boy, which is in America, and I love it. We love America. That being said, Paddle Tech paddles are absolute trash. And the fact that the best player in the world... Hold on, too much?
Yeah, because we're looking for free stuff.
That's right.
Their headquarters is 30 minutes away. So we're going to visit them, and I don't think
this part.
they're going to give us too much if we throw them under the bus.
We'll bring it back. Hold on, right here. 3, 2, 1. So being in Michigan City and being near the headquarters of Paddle Tech, the paddle company that's here, made in America by Americans. We represent America very hard. It was just the 4th of July. If you can see beside us, literally we got 4th of July stuff around and able. But that being said, Paddle Tech paddles are a little less than what we would want them to be. And that is why it is most surprising that Annalee Waters uses it and seems to do very well. Because when we hear that thing live, that thing sounds like a ball is like being shot out of it. Would you agree?
I agree. I don't know if she's got some special prototype or what the heck she's playing with. But a few of our neighbors and at the local courts have Paddle Tech. Like I said, the headquarters is only 30 miles away. They have you can get there right at the factory. They have a retail shop, which we're going to visit. In fact, as a side note, Brad's going to try to become Annalee's or Paddle Tech's rep because
they don't do a good job of marketing her at all.
I don't think they get enough mileage out of having the #1 female player in the world, probably the second best player in the world.
Yeah, one of the most noteworthy ones, I would say, even more than Ben Johns for non-pickleball people.
And being 16, I believe she's got a few years ahead of her. So anyway, we'll go over there and we'll get a feel. But hitting just randomly a few shots with it, not a big. I'd never played a game, but hitting a few shots, it didn't feel crisp or what we're used to. So
it definitely didn't sound like Annalee's.
No,
I know we're not
like
as strong as her, but still very different. And that's why I thought that Ben Johns perhaps was doing the same thing, where maybe he had his own special prototype or however these things are working out, and maybe that's what was going on.
But then neither of us can hit a two-handed backhand, so that's what we're working on. So
Pickleball 360.
So maybe it's not the paddle, Brad. Maybe it is us. So I don't know.
Anyway, that is it. Do you got anything else to add?
No. Hopefully all of our listeners will stay with us. This is our
inaugural.
Our pilot. So hopefully big things from here.
Yeah, we'll come back bigger and better this next week. So we have the MLP Draft coming up. We also have at PPA Denver. So we will be watching that. We will actually go through and have a little bit about each of the matches and things that stand out. And again, talk about the draft and the excitement that is going to be taking place in MLP. But with that, thank you all for watching, and hopefully you join us again. Peace.